Okay, perfect. All right, so hello everyone. I'm Donna Cashin, Dr. Donna Cashin from the Environmental Science and Geology program, also faculty in Biological Sciences. And so this is the first seminar we're having this semester on some of the professional development activities that the environmental science likes to share. And so providing you opportunities outside of just your general coursework to address some of the things that you might be interested with when you're done with school. And so this first one we targeted in October, November to be responsive to potential graduate applications going in at this time. So this is the very first one we're having this year, and then we'll follow it up possibly. I'm thinking now, maybe thinking about one on industry and bringing people in on industry, because that from the poll, there was a higher percentage of students interested in industry than I was expecting. And quite frankly, that is not an area where that I am overly confident in talking to you about careers. Some of the other faculty. I do want the faculty to introduce themselves, the faculty and staff on right now really quickly, so the students realize and see who all is here. Additionally, that faculty that were not here, they have already provided comments, and you will see some of that in the talks we're providing. Dawn, you're in my top left. Do you want to go first?
Sure, thank you. So my name is Dawn Niedermiller, and I can see most of you and I know you, most of you here. I'm the academic advisor for undergraduate studies in the Department of Environmental and Science. So I advise the environmental science students that are in the environmental science program and also all the geology majors.
Okay, Mark, Dr. Baskren.
Hello all. Thank you for joining this event. My name is Mark Bhaskaran. I serve as chair of the Department of Environmental Science and Geology. I've been with Wayne State for 23 years, and I've been my research area is in the applications of isotope in Earth system as a whole. Main focus has been the oceans, different ocean basins, Arctic, North Atlantic, East Pacific, and we are trying to get some funding from to do work in the Antarctica. And apart from that, we have worked in the Great Lakes system and some atmospheric studies and so on. That's all my background. And if you have any question, please send me an email. Near the end, I will send a chat where in 2 weeks from now, we will have a seminar by one of our distinguished alum. The title of this is How a Wayne State Education Shaped an Academic Career in Earth and Planetary Sciences. That is scheduled for November 18th at 1 p.m. This is by Professor J. Ague. He was the chair of the Geological Earth and Environmental Sciences. No, Geological Sciences at Yale University. So currently he's a professor. He's originally from this area, Metro Detroit area. Thanks.
Gianluca?
Hi guys, I'm Gianluca. I'm my 10th years here, Wayne State in the department. Nice meeting you guys. I'm a GIS guy. I'm mostly do GIS and remote sensing field, not supporting a lot of research on campus. And I recognize some of the names. So yeah, any GIS remote sensing questions, I'm here. So
Very good. And John?
I'm John Niedermiller. I'm the Academic Services Officer for the ESG department. I run the Introductory 1010 lab. I take care of all equipment in the department. I take care of all the mineral and rock samples in the department. And I work with professors and students on research projects or collecting data, and pretty much anything else that needs to be done in the department, I'm the one you go to. That's it.
Very nice. Thank you all. Thank you for joining us. Welcome all the students. So I'm Donna Cashin. I'm the director of the environmental science program. I'm an aquatic ecologist and an ecotoxicologist. So looking at how contaminants move in the environment and how they affect organisms. So today we are going to focus on, I gotta move all the faces now. Focus on some various post-graduation pathways. Other faculty, when I have this up on my screen, I can't as easily see the chat. So if people are putting comments in chat, can you help me out there? I also like it to be pretty casual. So I am very happy for people just to shout out questions and say, just jump right in, unmute and say something as we're going. So we're gonna look at some pathways for school for post-graduation. And so we'll touch on several, including graduate school, which was the one when I did the poll, was 64% of you were most interested in. This is what we lead off on. Surprisingly, consulting was a little bit lower. So I'm curious on why that was too. Industry was the next highest, followed by agency followed that one, and nonprofit. So we're going to touch on all of the, both from the environmental science and geology perspective. In many ways, in particular, graduate school, all the advice we have is equal for all of them. I just wanted to also, I just added this at the last minute. I forget that there are different pathways in graduate school. So I wanted to walk you through some of these, which even at Wayne State in the environmental science and geology program, we offer different varieties of these, and biology offers another one. In general, and jump in faculty if you view this in a different perspective and from your field, we have a Master's of Arts, Master's of Science, and a PhD. The difference between a Master of Art and a Master's of Science is a Master of Art tends to be a bit less demanding in terms of research. So you're not going to do an independent research project typically. It is mostly coursework, specialized coursework in that area. It is not prohibited from going from an MA to a PhD, but the pathway from an MS, which is a Master's of Science, to a PhD is a bit easier. Plus you're getting experience with an MS doing a thesis. So you're actually doing a body of research that hopefully is publishable. And PhD is, and so when we're also talking about these different jobs, if at any time you want to ask us about what is it preferred to have an MA, MS, or PhD, we can talk a little bit about some of that too, because in some fields, a PhD may not be necessary. And in fact, it can be prohibited a little bit. But a Master's of Art, the difference between a Master's of Art and Master's of Science may be different. In agency and consulting, I would recommend a Master's of Science over a Master's of Art. In industry, I think a MA often is good, but it depends on the industry. So it's never clear cut. But does any other faculty want to comment on these three designations before we get going? Or students with questions?
No, yeah, I agree with you. I would say that Master of Art, you can think about Master of Art in industry, or for example, if you are interested in education, if you want to do like educator,
right,
and you want to have you want to go to teach in high school or middle school about science, or being a curator in a museum, for example, something like that, Master of Art should be more than enough. For industry consulting, profit agencies, MS is a little bit better just because gives you the research experience. So you know how to ask questions and follow the scientific method, essentially, for doing that. PhD in industry depends on the industry and depends on the position you are applying for. If you're a manager, for sure you need to have a PhD. Manager position, usually they have PhD and higher level up because they have to lead a group for research and so on. But I would say minimum MS. MS is a good cutoff. MA is a good starting point. Let's say that.
Any of the students have any questions about these designations or anything like that? Just jump in.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ashton.
My name is, I'm already kind of in the industry, but I would like to go toward a different part of the industry. So would, for what you guys are saying, a Master's of Arts would be more helpful?
So one, if you're already in an organization and you're looking for advancement in that organization, I
Well,
would
there's no
reach.
advancement in
Ah.
this organization.
Okay. So I was going to say, talk to your supervisors and see what's preferred. It really depends on the position itself, and what you're looking for. So what did you say you have? Right
I'm
now?
currently, I will be graduating in December. My field is I'm an analyst or microscopist for most of the agencies that you have posted. They're our clients. So I analyze asbestos containing material.
Other faculty
That is
can
what I-
jump in. I'm thinking MS PhD pathway may be the right choice for you.
Yeah, you have a bachelor, right, already, or you're graduating? So from where we are graduating, like bachelor, master, what is your graduation? Sorry, Ashton.
It's okay. Geology. I'll have a Bachelor of Science in Geology.
You already have a bachelor. So yeah,
No, I
so
will have one.
you already have one. And you're taking a master?
No, I will be getting my bachelor's in
Okay,
December.
okay, perfect. Okay. So in industry, and this is I don't know the agency, but industry consulting is more or less the same kind of pathway. You want to have a master first because it will increase you the salary. HR
Masters of Science, not Masters of Arts.
yeah, Master of Science. Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
A Master of Science because first of all, and let's be practical here, if you have a master, you should get more money in your salary.
Mhm.
Second, the master is giving you more option. For example, if you want to be a technical leader, for example, that can help you out. If you want to be, if you want to start managing people, you want to change job in the industry. For example, you are in a department or in a business unit and you want to go to a different business unit, then I would suggest to talk with HR and your supervisor to see what is the suggestion there. Because sometimes, if you go in a business unit that already has like the position filled for what you do, they will not, there is no way.
Can I say
Okay.
something here? Just to between a master's and Master of Science and Master of Arts, MA and MS, the major difference is MS requires you do a thesis. You go to the field, work under a professor, and that most often involves certain amount of laboratory field work. On the other hand, MA is something you want to do undergraduate, get a job, and once you're in a job, they basically tell you or train you to go to the field, collect sample, and what analysis you need to do, etc. At the same time, you can get some additional courses that may be quite useful for the work you do, and that you can take it while you are working as an undergraduate with your undergraduate degree. You're working, you can get a master's there. So generally, MS requires 6 months or more working in the field, while MA does not require that. You can take courses, many of the courses online, and yet you have your job.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions from the students or faculty? All right, I feel like all these questions are useful. Like, don't hesitate to ask them because most likely there's other students with these exact questions. So first I'm going to go run through, we are actually doing the graduate school first. So we'll run through some of the recommendations by the faculty and hopefully this stimulates conversations. So Dr. Burdick, who's on paternity leave right now, so he was unable to join us, but he recommends that you ask your professors about programs or advisors they would recommend. So that line of communication, if you're interested in a particular topic, go to the faculty, possibly the one you have a most interest in their research, and they'll be able to tell you about different programs out there. To reach out to professors, and I'm going through this right now, as many other faculty are, and don't be discouraged if you don't hear back from everyone you contact. For me, I'm teaching a class with 120 students right now, some of you know, and when I get requests for graduate school, and they sometimes get buried. So don't get discouraged. Nag to a reasonable amount. You know, maybe send an email, say you're going to do 3 times. If you're sending them more than 4 emails, maybe that's not the professor you want to work with. But yeah, so go ahead and feel free to reach out because emails do get buried. Go ahead and take courses that are broadly useful in research skills like statistics. My recommendation is also GIS, which Gianluca might not be advertising because it's him, but I think GIS is also another strong one. So those will vary by field, but those typically are pretty consistent in the disciplines we're talking about here. And then if you have relative related manuscripts, posters, etc., or even develop your resume, share that when contacting your potential advisors. My recommendations, and there will be overlap between some of ours, is to cast a wide net. You know, don't just target 1 or 2 schools, apply broadly. You can get the conversation going with as many professors that is reasonable. So go ahead and contact them, just like Dr. Burdick said. But after you contact them, once you have an ongoing discussion with them, I highly recommend talking to the students in that lab of the faculty you're considering. If you are someone who does not want micromanaging, don't go in a lab that the students are saying they're a micromanager. If you want more attention, then go in the labs where the professor does have more time. Work hard on that personal statement and have someone proofread it. That is absolutely important. Even when going from high school to, I'm dealing with this with my daughter right now, going from high school to your BS, that your personal statement is really important. I highly recommend to choose programs that have funding for you. So you should not necessarily be paying for graduate school. It's a little bit different. You will almost never find funding for an MA program, but most PhD programs, some MS programs, you should be able to find funding for. And this is, if anyone has questions around that, let us know. Dawn, do you want to talk a little?
Thank you. So my advice, first of all, is, reread all this advice from the professors that are in this presentation, because it's really good advice. Professors have seen, a lot of students, they do a lot of research. And so, basically, go to them for advice. Don't be afraid, as Donna mentioned, right? Approach professors. And I know students always feel a little bit awkward in doing this. So, feel free to send an email and, say, hello, my name is, and, you may know them better, or maybe not as well, but, let them know something about you. Keep the email or, conversation short to begin with, but then, have a meeting with them and, talk to them what you may be interested in, right? So again, always, feel free to talk to professors. They're extremely, extremely resourceful. So definitely take their advice. Get involved. That's another big recommendation that I have. Whether you want to go to graduate school or if you want to go into industry, get a job, career afterwards. after a bachelor's or even further on. While you're in your undergraduate pathway here, get involved and network with people. It's so, so important to talk to people. Even if you're one that's a little bit shy and don't really want to do that, challenge yourself and push yourself to do so, okay? Because there's so much that you can learn from other people, even other students, right? As you talk to them about what they're interested in and who they talk to, right? And you find out things that you never knew before, right? And it actually helps you very much so start to narrow down what you might want to do, right? After you do graduate, you know, whether it's from your bachelor's, master's, or PhD. You want to try to figure that out sooner than later so you can set yourself up for success and for opportunities. Student organizations are also great, right? So that's another quick thing, you know, that you might want to do, right? Get involved and keep, you know, asking questions. And that's it.
So any students with questions or comments right now before we move on to the next pieces of advice?
Yeah, I do have one other quick thing too. We might talk about it later. But I've been talking to some students lately as they talk about graduate school, and they're asking about the A grade program, the accelerated program. So we can talk about that a little bit more, you know, later on. So.
And hopefully you can help with that.
Sure.
You know more on it than I do. Okay, Dr. Hood. So he's over from Biological Sciences, and he contributed a few slides in addition to the comments here. But he said, make sure, and I highly agree with this, and there's opportunities all the time to present as an undergraduate at conferences and invite professors whose lab you might want to join to your talk and see if you can meet up with them in time to chat. He said that worked really well for him. So there's external conferences like societies of, for me, freshwater sciences, the geologists, they have AGU, there's other geology ones I'm not as familiar with. But there's also, even if it's just in-house, there's undergraduate symposiums. The more you get this, it can be an item on your resume and your personal statement to share with your potential advisors. The other thing is, if you really, there's like particular professors you're super excited about, maybe come talk to Mark or myself or others organizing seminar series and say, hey, can we invite this professor out to come to Wayne State University and give a talk? Then Wayne State may be paying for that professor to come out, and it gives you like a one-on-one opportunity to network. So that's another kind of thing you can do. And the faculty really like the burden of thinking about people who invite, lift it off of them, and then the student can also help with hosting. So that's always a fun thing. So if there's a professor you're like keen on, let us know and we'll try and get them here for you. All right, Dr. Liu, I don't think he's here. Okay, so he said, check the location of the University of College, find out the destination of recent graduates. So find out where they ended up, what types of jobs, are they the types of jobs you're interested in? And this is particular for PhD students, is go through those recent publications. My recommendation is even before you talk to that professor, go to Google Scholar, pull up their publications and be prepared to know what their research is about. You don't have to scrutinize it, but you should read the abstract at the bare minimum of several of their publications and make sure you have a little bit of familiarity with it so you can talk to them. Let me see, my husband, Dan Cashin. His recommendation is prepare to articulate your research interests to potential PIs you want to work with. And this ties with that, knowing their research and then thinking about the research you're interested in and being able to have those conversations back and forth. Okay, so for example, Dr. So-and-so, I see you have done research on X, Y, and Z. I'm particularly interested in this, and that may, complement some of your work. So think about ways to engage the research. I do not even talk to people coming into my lab. It just, there's only so many spaces, and I get requests all the time that they will say they do something and it's not what I do. And I do let them know this isn't what I do. I'm not going to be a very good mentor in that scenario. So I talked to them about it. Oh, and Dawn mentioned that PI, did I use that word? Yeah, we all use that word. It's kind of the lead faculty, the principal investigator of it. So thank you, Dawn, for pointing that out. I actually did see that chat pop up. Okay, Dr. Brownlee, I'm pretty sure she's teaching right now. Mark or Jean-Luc, did you want to talk about what her recommendations? Just curious.
Mark, do you want to go?
Let me see. Okay. Trying to open this here.
I like putting faculty on the spot.
Let's see. It's showing us host disabled participant screen sharing. I'm unable to see the full screen.
Mark, I think it's you can just like look in the
I see
view.
it as a small screen. Oh, okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
I got it here. Yeah, this is what Dr. Brownlee says. Getting into a graduate program is often more about fit than qualifications. So basically, if you find a particular graduate program, you look at the research, what kind of researchers are doing, do some research and identify some 1 or 2 areas, and then how you will fit into that particular program. So before you apply anything, just go online, find out about the faculty, what kind of research they do. This was mentioned earlier also, and read some abstracts of the paper. That gives you a lot more information. Then you contact the faculty, they will get very excited that you have done background research and you are really interested in the research. So align your research interest with a research group or a faculty member you hope to work with. If you don't get response right away, follow it up with a second email. Sometimes they get buried. Professors get a lot of emails and it gets buried. So basically, you need to focus yourself and do some research before you contact any faculty expressing your interest. All right. Yeah.
All right, Mark, I can jump in because I think we
Okay.
had a hand raised for a student. Batul, I think I saw your hand raised. Did someone have a question?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just had like one quick question. Oh, sorry. Let me fix that. Yeah, I was just like, I've been trying to find like a few labs to like work on or just like some graduate programs, and it's just like somewhat of a struggle just to find like who would be like the best fit for me.
Okay, so one thing is what just I'll use you as an example. So what are you interested in? What generally is of interest to you?
I would say like marine biology. That's like one thing that I'm a big fan of.
All right, that's a classic. We get that one a lot. So for marine biologist, that probably is the person you want to come talk to is going to be me on this call on this. We have surprisingly had very good success in placing marine biologists within our program. So one of the things I might do is put you in touch with 3 of my former undergraduates who went on to do marine biology. We have someone in Florida that's working, got into South Florida State. We have one, he was environmental science and geology, Rob Roos. He went on to do research. And I think if you go to the Wayne State, the program page, you'll see a little video from him. He went on, he was interested in skates and rays, but he went on to do shark research. And he literally just got a permanent job. And it ends up being not with marine, but freshwater fish on an Indian reservation. But the thing, he is super happy in what he's doing. But one of the ways any of you can do is you're interested in something, try and focus it down. Okay, I'm particularly interested in sharks. What about sharks? Try and get a couple keywords down like you would in writing a paper. Go into Google Scholar, plug them in and see what papers line up. Then look at the authors. the faculty member is probably going to be the first author or the last author, and you will be able to see that. Hopefully you can determine which one it is, and it'll say what the authors do or where they're affiliated with. Then target that person, say, and then maybe even put their name into Google Scholar, see what else, or Web of Science is my favorite, see what else they've published. But that is, if you're going cold turkey and you don't have someone to talk to, that is a great way. And then you'll maybe start seeing patterns of universities pop up. But in general, for graduate programs, there's, there might be, like for me, Virginia Tech is, if you come to me on toxicology, I'm going to recommend, Virginia Tech. That's a great toxicology program. There's many professors, but some of the best professors are actually random stray people at different universities, like maybe Wayne State or Colorado State, where I know there's individual faculty that are top in their field, but they're not in big tox programs. So does that help?
Yeah, that helped. Thank you so much, especially the Google, like the Google Scholar, and like search up specific things.
The other faculty or staff, have you had experience doing this, and any other recommendations? Okay.
Yeah, I fully agree. I don't know, when I was reading Dr. Brownlee's, my apologies, maybe it was muted. But anyway, I think that those are really good points, just to go do some Google search and find out and contacting people. And then as Donna said, you can also approach individual faculty, talk to them. They can show the direction, how to do the search and how to look for the right fit.
All right, I'm going to go on. And Sarah's last comment, which I cannot put enough emphasis on it, is be confident, believe in yourself. You are good enough to go to graduate school. I did have some struggles getting into graduate school because I did not know some of the things we're talking about today. The first year I applied, I did not get in anywhere. I didn't know you were supposed to reach out to professors. I didn't know what went all into it. So I hit a stage after my bachelor's where I was pretty depressed and pretty upset, and then talked to people and they're like, no, you did it wrong. And then that following year I got into, I don't remember how I applied to, but 3 other places I applied to. So, even just be listening to this is very helpful in helping you do a better job at applying. But do not, if that's what you want, if you want to go into marine biology, that one's going to be a little bit tougher than other fields. And there's no doubt some fields are tougher. You need to get a little bit of a hard skin and pursue it and persevere and keep talking to people. Okay. Dawn?
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to put in the chat a couple of other, there are a couple of links that if you work with like WSU Career Services, which we'll talk about later, there are a couple search engines, basically, one called ONET and one called the Occupational Handbook. That's through the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. And if you just put a few keywords of topics that you're interested in, it is amazing the information that will be there. Everything from the kinds of tasks that you'll be doing, the salaries, job searches, and all other kinds of things. So I'll put those 2 links into the chat.
Thank you, Dawn.
And just want to add 2 more points. First of all, yes, be confident, because it's not only in the graduate school, it's for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know how many, if you have ever been in one of my classes, the first thing I try to make is I'm the best GIS instructor in the world. Yes. I'm the best GIS. And if you are one of my students, you are going to be the best because you learn from the best. This is the first thing I say to my students, not because I am arrogant, but because you have to start building your self-confidence, okay? Graduate school, you need to be confident that you can do it. If you're applying for a job in industry, consulting, or anything, you want them to know that you are the best, because otherwise they will not hire you. Now, that means that you need to build this confidence and always think that you are the best, even if it means sometimes you pick up a little bit and you know that somebody can be better than you sometimes, but that doesn't mean that you are not the best, okay? And the second point is, you guys, you know, I'm from Italy. I came here, but don't be scared to apply also out abroad sometimes. You have the advantage. You have the advantage of the language because English is the official language for all the conferences internationally, right? So even if you don't speak proper Italian, for example, or proper French, or you can still try to go there because they will talk in English. So if you want to try to apply for abroad also, okay? So don't be scared. If it is something that you want to do, you try. And what is the worst scenario? They say no. Okay, go on. Makes sense? So these are other two things I wanted to add.
So wrapping up our discussion on graduate school, one, get experience doing your program that you're currently in. Take advantage of opportunities. I do have a slide at the very end on Europe. It's open now and it's due November 18th, and you can Google Wayne State University Europe and you'll get more information, or reach out to one of us on Europe grants. Do directed study to get research experiment. Work on that personal statement. Talk to your professors. There is questions about whether to take the GRE or not to take the GRE. That's the graduate school entrance exam, and sometimes as a subject test. I feel like a lot of schools are moving away from requiring the GRE, but some schools still require it. So make sure you know that and be prepared to take that comprehensive exam if the school requires it. Make sure you are digging deep. Why do you want to go to graduate school? Like if you're not digging deep and you're just going to graduate school because it seems like maybe that's just what I should do, or it's maybe an easier path than finding a job, you might not be as successful, because when the pressure gets tough and you don't really want to be there, this is when students are going to break. So really dig deep on why you want to go and where you're hoping to get with it. Again, we talked about the different types of graduate programs, what to focus on, and publications, it's getting into them. Publications can help, not necessarily the school name is what's important. So when you walk away, it's the publications you're getting out of it, not that I went to Yale or Princeton or whatever. So that's really important, and that professor and funding. All right, before we move on to the next one, any additional conversations about graduate school?
I'll just quickly, oh, I'm sorry, Donna. I was just going to say, I'm going to put something in the chat about the A grade program, the Accelerated Graduate Enrollment Program. And it basically allows you to count 16 credits that you're already taking for your undergraduate degree and apply those towards the total number of credits needed for your master's degree. So in a sense, you're double counting them, right, for your undergraduate and your graduate. So I'll just put a little bit of information there in a link. And then if you have any questions, come talk to me, or you can ask, other professors or graduate advisor, Sarah Brownlee also.
So I feel like there's students that probably have questions they're not asking. All good? All right, then we will move on. Oh, was that Dawn, your chat? Okay, moving on to jobs. Okay, so the various different pathways. We've talked about graduate school. So we're going to touch on consulting, industry, nonprofit, and agency. And when we are done with this, if we don't get through all of them, and we have a demand, I want the students to reach out to me and say, can we have one professional development seminar just on this? I promise you, we will make it happen. So if you tell me you want one just on nonprofits, I will invite in a couple nonprofit people too and get them to come talk to you. So what we don't get done here does not mean it's the end of the day. Okay, so I think consulting is first. So Gianluca made some comments. Oh, well, he did a kind of a general one on several of these to think about these various things. So Gianluca, do you want to get started on this? And then I think we jump into
yeah, no problem at all. I had I was lucky enough to have some experience in all of the three jobs there. But I worked both in industry, in nonprofit for a couple of years, and also consulting when I was in Italy. Okay, so first thing first is you need to have at least a bachelor. Okay, I know some people can work even without bachelor or while you are doing the bachelor, but sometimes that is mostly like a entry level basic technical job in which you just need to input data or just like go and collect data, or when you see some people that goes on the street and just like mark where the pipelines are or the electrical pole, more likely these are technical jobs, and these are that is like the bachelor kind of things. So that is the bare minimum. If you want to apply for a job in consulting, in nonprofit, and in industry, get your bachelor done. Okay, don't postpone it. Also because they can pay you something, to do that. One thing that I'm never stopped stressing about is during your students' years, develop a strong ability to complete projects. In your case, guys, are your homework or your assignments, especially on time and within budget if you are in an industry. Why I'm stressing that? Because when you go to industry or consulting or nonprofit, guess what? If you do a project, if your supervisor is giving you a project, a client wants to have something done in 2 weeks, and the first project you are late, the second project you are late, the third project you are late. You know what happened, right? In industry. Okay, you're done. Bye. Find another job. So don't think just because in class we are instructors, we are very flexible and we are trying to help you out, and we are not giving you an extension or something like that. Sometimes even in industry you can ask for an extension. Yes, you can. It's called amendment. You can amend a little bit, but try to get used to do everything on time. That is called time management, and it is very, very important when you work in industry, okay? And then you can consider earning a graduate degree, master or PhD. As we mentioned before, it's not only for the type of position, because each position, if you have a degree, you can apply for a certain position. If you have another degree, you can apply for a higher position and higher salary, okay? And we know, I strongly believe that one of the reasons why people want to go to industry, one is the mission sometimes, some other is the money, okay, for sure. So let's be honest each other. So you want to get more money or you want to have a better position, take a master or a PhD. One thing that Mark was right, remember that if you are in a big enough industry, there may be willing to not. Some industry can pay in full the tuition. Some industry they pay like for half of it. So if you're already working in industry, don't be shy. Go to HR and ask them how you want to take a master or a PhD. What are the options there? Develop your professional skills with a few years of work experience. Okay, so for example, if you're interested in GIS, I would strongly suggest you to go on remote sensing to try to see if there is any internship, take all the internship you can, or even volunteering possibilities, okay? You can ask Dr. Kashan if there is any volunteering position at NOAA in collecting some water sample, for example, okay? I know it's not the best thing, but you will learn a lot of things and you can put the skills in the resume, okay? So that is where in your CV, even if you don't have it was not a job, but you still perform the task. So that is experience that you gain. Define as soon as possible your career path. So you finish school, you want to have it clear what you want to do. Because if you don't have that thing clear in mind, you cannot really create a strong statement, a strong reference letter, and you don't know how to focus your energy. For example, I want to specialize in GIS. So you're sure about that, then try to take as much as GIS classes as possible, or remote sensing classes as possible, or try to get statistics for sure if you want to do industry. So keep that in mind. Try to have as clear as possible your career path. I want to be an analyst. I want to be a programmer. I want to be a developer. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you go in industry, another good thing is to have a professional certification. Okay, try to earn one. It's always helping. I'm certified geologist in Italy. Okay, I still didn't get my certification here in the United States, but that is always good to have professional certification program. I'm a certified, I don't know, I don't remember the name now. I'm blanking on the name for the waste management. Okay, so take that type of certification, especially in consulting. Okay, and don't be afraid, even if you are like you already have a master or a PhD, don't be afraid to apply for entry-level position, because you can start in that and then slowly you can move up. Okay, don't be say, oh, don't be, I don't want to say don't be picky, but don't be scared of just like downgrade a little bit until you find a better position or a better way to move up. These are my suggestions for any of these three type of career paths. Okay.
And Gianluca, you brought up something we didn't touch on yet that's super important, and that's those letter of recommendations. So you need to, while you're an undergrad, start working on relationships with professors to get a solid letter of recommendation. So if you tend to be one of those shy students who sits back and doesn't talk to your faculty, it's going to be really hard when you need that letter of recommendation for us to write your letter. So try and make those relationships. And typically you need 3. 2 should be PhD faculty. The third one can be many different things. Don and John were excellent choices to work on, you guys. But if you have a relationship with your advisor, that's a very good one to have. If one of them can be an outside job, it can be a coach if you're in a sport. So, but the 2 of them should be faculty on some level. All right, before we move on, any questions? Okay, so one of the ones we are talking about is consulting agencies. Consulting agencies, there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of different views on consulting agencies. Being a toxicologist, when I was in school, I thought very negative of consulting agencies, that these are the groups that kind of do the bidding of Dow Chemical. I don't want to say Dow Chemical is bad, but the agencies that were kind of that may be doing the polluting. That is not fully true. There are many consulting firms that do, yes, work for those types of companies, but and there's nothing wrong with those companies. And well, sometimes, and there are many consulting firms that do different types of work. In my field, there is locally Limnotech, which is serves on the advisory board of the TRUS program, which I run. They usually are contracted. So consulting companies are contracted by groups to answer a question or address a question. They typically are contracted by faculty and agencies, state and federal agencies. So they typically are kind of addressing things in my mind that I also address as a researcher at a university. And then there's ones that are contracted by cities to do a wetland assessment that I'm familiar for in my field. That's what I see them. Water quality. I know there's a development that's potentially going in kind of close to my house. And I know there is Tetra Tech was just out here staking off the land and doing that stuff. I know of my brother, I guess he's a brother-in-law is a graduate of this program, and he works for a consulting agency that's doing work on a contaminated site up in northern Michigan. So there's a lot of different types of jobs in consulting. Geology has the same, I honestly can't talk to them as much. So if anyone has a little bit more background in some of the geology consultants, feel free to jump in. I know some of our geologists are not here today.
Well, mostly, depends on what the consulting is. When I graduated in Italy, I was working for a it's called geotechnical consulting company. Essentially, we were analyzing the soil characteristics if they were able to withstand the constructions. So we were giving the data, all the numbers to the engineers, so the engineers can try to calculate the best foundation. How much cement do I need? Which type of structure should I put, like armored cement, or should I put just big house? Okay, or if they were working on they wanted to build a house in a high risk landslides, how deep the foundation has to go to reach the bedrock so that the house would not be wiped away. Okay, so that is the type of or for example, if you have to some company, oil company, they have their own inside, but sometimes they rely on other geologists to help out on finding like what is the best like area to dig in. Okay, to oil and gas. Okay, so these are all consulting companies jobs. So essentially, consulting, you are giving your professional experience to others so they can take a decision. That is what you do essentially.
So I think we are going to wrap up at the end of consulting, but we're not quite done with consulting yet. So there's a couple slides that talk about different consulting firms and experiences. We are going to make these slides available to everyone in addition to the recording itself. The other thing, so we have some that Dawn put together this list for environmental consultants, and the consulting, the list goes on and on and on. But some examples for you to see the skills needed, and we can talk about some of those other things. Stay on consulting for now. With this, I think for all of these, you want to think about work-life balance too. What is it you want out of jobs? Some of these jobs have very different work-life balances. Industry may very much be a 9-to-5 job. Consulting may be more flexible, but it may also have more travel. So it depends. When looking at the different positions that you're looking at, these are questions you should be thinking about in doing it. For me, being a professor, the work-life balance has been amazing because many of you know, I actually am in the office incredibly early, but I leave by 3 o'clock because my daughter runs. I want to see track meets. So it allows me to have flexibility. It allows me on non-teaching days, I'll go in and do a Halloween party with my kids, but maybe I'm picking up some hours on Saturday. So certain jobs are going to be more flexible than others. So you need to be thinking of that in travel and all of those aspects of it in your job. So I am going to completely open it to discussion now to wrap up from both faculty and the students. And we are going to pick up with industry on our next professional development, but I'm also going to make that one a little bit more deeper. I'm going to talk to some people from industry. So we're going to have a bigger discussion because that was one that you all said you wanted to know a lot about. So any discussion before we sign off on consulting and graduate school?
I had a question about the funding for grad school programs. When you're searching for grad school programs, how do you tell if they have funding available? That
is hard. I do know there is a Twitter link, and I need to find that, where they put together some individual put together a list of all the schools that provide graduate funding. This is more though, and I will do my best to find that. Twitter is kind of a mess right now, so I don't know what's going on with Twitter. I will try and find that. But asking the university, Wayne State University in Biological Sciences, we provide a fully funded PhD program. We have in the past fully funded our Masters of Science programs, but that's not promised. A PhD is promised through TAs and whatnot. When I was looking for programs, I would reach out to the professor and ask, you have teaching assistant positions? Like our department only has one for ESG, and that's challenging. So we are not able to provide fully funded positions unless the faculty has a grant. And then they will put students on that grant that is referred to as an RA, so a research assistant position. So that is some of the ways. Other faculty, do you have any commentary on this?
I would say just like, if you're interested, just like contact the graduate program, the graduate director, and you can ask frankly the question, how many position, do you have a paid position or not?
Okay.
The externally funded program, pretty much the work is clearly cut out, because the funding agency, we convinced the funding agency to give us the money to do certain type of work. So the faculty want the work to get done through the students. So there's not a whole lot of flexibility when you work as a graduate research assistant.
Sometimes there's some programs like NRT programs that students do, like they actually determine what they want to do. So there's variety, but like Dr. Baskrin was saying, sometimes the faculty will have a project specifically in X, Y, and Z. So they are looking to fill students. In my field,
Right.
there is a list server called Ecolog, ECOLOG, where there's faculty, graduate student positions posted all the time. And so you can follow these web servers to find these. A really bold move by a student, there are NSF grants that a student applies for before they're a graduate student, but you would need to work with a professor, and you can actually, they're highly competitive, submit one of these. And this is actually how I got my postdoc position. I did not have funding. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to tell the professor I will apply for this postdoc award, which is a postgraduate thing. But you can do this with the NSF graduate student, and you can put together a proposal. Often, even if you don't get funded, the professor sees you put in that effort and they go out of the way to find you funding if you've written a proposal with them. If you have questions on that, talk to the faculty. That is a bit of a bolder and a huge time commitment to put that together, but I highly recommend it. It's a very progressive way to move forward on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Ryan, maybe I just thought about something. You want to be a little bit more investigative. Okay, so you can search the web page and the CV or the research of the professor, because usually they have their grant part, their CV, and then you can see when is, and usually professor, we keep that like pretty updated. So usually, so maybe you can see what is the date and when it was applied, was accepted or not, and then you can kind of have a guess if they have the money or not.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys very much.
All right, any last questions? All right. Oh. Thank you, Sophia. So we promise you we will follow up with our next one. We felt the graduate one was the most important because that one has a deadline. So we will follow up with our next one based on the poll on industry, and maybe couple that with another one, but try and get other people in. This will be recorded and posted. So I will do that, and I will also post the slides. And if you ever need them, just let us know. All right, thank you all for joining us, and thank you faculty and staff for joining us. All right, take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, have a nice weekend, guys.
Bye.
See ya.